So obviously by now, we've all seen the absolutely ludicrous report and claim that Amnesty International has made. Long story short, the NGO has completely redefined what gender is in order to determine that what's happening in Gaza is, by their pony definition, a gender. They released a lengthy report summarised by a rather hilarious but somewhat difficult to decipher one-liner. Amnesty International considers this an overly cramped interpretation of international jurisprudence and one that would effectively preclude a finding of in the context of armed conflict. What the fuck does that even mean? I'll literally give £1,000 to anyone who can decipher that jumble of words put together to form a nonsensical sentence. You know what's interesting about the report that Amnesty International released? Absolutely zero reference to the number of in relation to the but plenty of mention of the itself. But yeah, as I said, absolutely no mention of the fact that 50% of that toll are in fact weird, right? Hey Amnesty, where were you proclaiming when 400,000 people died in the war in Yemen? Silent. Where were you proclaiming genocide when 500,000 people died in the war in Syria and 12 million people were displaced? Silent. Yet when Israel 20,000 and there happens to be 20,000 casualties of war. And might I add, there's never been a war in history where there hasn't been casualties of war. You then decide now is the time that you're going to pipe up and scream, but not even by the real definition of, but rather by a manufactured definition that you've made up to suit your very own narrative. Hey, Amnesty, in 2015, didn't you call for the release of Osama Attar, who then went on to become the mastermind of the Bataclan attacks and the Brussels, Hey, Amnesty, in 2010, didn't your organisation's women's rights director resign in protest over your ties to Cage, a group that defended like Jihadi John, the British... Wasn't that you? You're an organisation devoid of credibility. You've become apologists, or worse yet, supporters of terrorism. You are literally hypocrites on the world stage.